Nice, welcome to OKUMA. So, first thing I generally start with is an overview of the control. When you first fire up the control, you're going to see this screen. This is called OSP Suite. You can get out of that screen by hitting any of these blue buttons. To get back into it, there's a little house icon up here to get back into it. What OSP Suite is really cool for is general maintenance that it wants you to do occasionally, and every manual for the machine is here. So you got a question, quick and easy to find the answer. Maintenance is right here. It'll tell you the things that it wants you to do, like say oil for sideway tank, right? The way that if I hit the information button, it takes me to the page in the maintenance manual where it talks about it. It'll tell you what to put in the machine, where it is, generally give you a picture of all kinds of cool stuff, right? So we say, okay, where is it? It's right over here. It's slow, but it's got stuff in it. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out and clear that one by hitting the blue button. Now we're good to go, right? So it's going to go from blue to yellow to red. You see a red exclamation mark here. It's got some maintenance that it wants you to take care of on the machine. Easy, right? With OKUMA, we like to make everything easy. Hit close. Now this is the important one. The manual. You got questions on the machine. Hey, where do I find the right button or something like that? This will answer a ton of the questions for you, right? Everything's searchable, and you can, a good one for people setting up the machine, right? A good question is, what are my clearances? That's what they were just asking, right? So under the manuals, you'll find one called technical. Technical sheet, there we go. So if you open up the technical sheet and scroll down on this thing, it has different feed speeds. You don't have to worry about that, but what it's got is diagrams down here, right here, that show you what all the clearances for your tools are. So you don't have to worry about, hey, am I going to hit the sheet metal when I rotate this thing around? Very helpful, right? So all of that again is, you get out of this by hitting any of the blue buttons, and to get back in, that house menu is right there, manuals, technical sheet, or maintenance. That's pretty much all you have to worry about on this page. So the next thing is these buttons here and these buttons here. These three are what you're going to use the most. And these three. This is auto, MDI, manual, just like any machine, right? So that's pretty stinking easy, right? Auto, MDI, manual. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to look at. This is your position page for running your programs and setting up your work zeros. This is your program page for bringing programs in and out of the machine. This is my tool page for, well, anything to do with tooling, right? Now, you'll notice, and by the way, I can look at anything while I'm doing anything. So I can be in manual, or I can be in auto, and bring a program into the machine. It just won't let me select that program until I am not running a program, right? If you're running a program, you just can't just select a new one. It makes sense.
Can you edit the program while the machine's running?
Yes. In fact, we'll get to it. There's a quick edit button that will open the program on the line that it's currently running. So you run through, and we're going to go through running through a program easily and making sure all the graphics look good. Okay, so back to the run page. You notice you have tabs up here. It says 1 of 2. If I press that again, that's 2 of 2. Usually this is what we want to run unless you're running a schedule program. You don't have to worry about schedule programs. Schedule programs would be like, I'm making a chess set, right? A chess set has 1 king, 1 queen, 2 bishops, right? 10 pawns. Well, you would have a program for each, then you'd have a schedule program to run. Hey, make 1 of this, 2 of this, whatever, right? So you're not probably going to be running schedule programs, so this is what you're going to be looking at, is that 1 of 2, right? These tabs, so this tab is for running the program. These tabs are for setting up. First spindle setup, second spindle setup. And the first thing I'm going to warn you is, it looks like you might put your zeros right here. Don't do it. I wish that they would take this out. Now, I love 95% of what OKUMA does, and there's 5% that drives me crazy. This is stupid. Never touch it. What that is a temporary shift. You say, this part should be 10 thou shorter. So you can type 10 thou into that Z0, and it's going to remember that 10 thou until it gets to the end of the program, then it's going to forget it, right? What if you hit reset, and then you restart the program? It also forgot the 10 thou. So I never, ever touch that. If I want to offset my part 10 thou, I'm going to offset it over here. You go 0 edit on off, and now I can edit where my Z0 is. I'd offset it 10 thou, and then, is this always going to remember that number until it gets changed? Does that make sense? Comments, questions, concerns on that part of it? Okay. So, never touch this. Always do everything here. Your OD-ID grip is really not going to change unless you change your chuck or you know, how you're holding your part. The only thing, when I hit 0 edit on off, the only thing that I would expect to see in here is a Z and a W. And you guys are going to set those before we're done with our training. You guys are going to get really comfortable setting your Z and your W. Right? Your X, 0, is the center of rotation for your spindles. You should never have, it's a lathe. How is your X ever going to change, right? Your C0 is on this spindle, generally with the jaw up, and with this one, jaw down. That's so when you transfer, they're not hitting the jaws together, right? You can change it if you want. It's just, generally speaking, you don't need to. The only time you would edit that, you know, put a C0 in there, is if, say, you were doing some machining and you would hit a jaw, so you need to rotate it 30 degrees, so you're missing that jaw, right? So that means that really easy, all you have to worry about is Z and W. With W, you can only command, by the way, W is this spindle moving back and forth, right? With W, you can only command it from the main spindle. You can only move it from the main spindle. So you're trying to get this sub spindle to come forward, you can't get it done. Well, that's maybe because you have the second spindle selected, and it just won't move on the second spindle. Over here, you'll notice, because we don't have a W that we can control on the sub spindle, you just have X, Z, C, and Y. Again, Y I would never expect to have anything other than 0. Questions, comments, concerns so far?
B.
W.
That is W.
W dragon.
I come over here. What you're used to is B, is W.
G54 always used for transport.
We also don't have that. We don't have G54 or 55. No OKUMA uses a G54 or 55. The reason is that you guys may get a mill on a OKUMA mill someday. You have G54 through 59 on regular mills, right? And then if you want more offsets, you got to go G54.1P, whatever the stupid number is. With OKUMA, we use a G15H, whatever the number is. 1 through, depends on the machine, 100, 200, or 400. So you can have 400 offsets, whereas G54 through 59 gives you, what, 5? A whole lot better to have 400. All right, so any questions on the setup? We'll get into this a whole lot more in depth, right? You have different tabs over here. Notice also over here, I get different choices down here depending on what I highlight, right? The one that you're gonna wanna do as soon as you start the machine is go to this box here, and this is just preference, this isn't mandatory, but I like to see what I'm doing. I like to have graphics up there. So I'm gonna highlight that box, I'm gonna say power display, anime display. And that's just things that I can go back to that if I want, or power display. But generally, I like to see the graphics, see what's going on. The other thing is, over here on your run screen, you have program select. It's gonna open up the list of programs you have saved in the machine that are .min. Just scroll down to it. Okay. Now you're running that program. That's all there is to it. Questions, comments, concerns on the run page? Again, we're going to get so much more in depth on that. But
After select, what you push? After select program.
program select, highlight the one you want,
Yeah.
and then OK.
Oh, okay.
All right. So that takes us to our second button, edit page. Getting programs in and out. And this is up because I was helping somebody else and going through creating a program on the phone. This is what you're normally going to see. Notice this is MD1. MD1 is your main directory for the machine. So as soon as I push this button, I'm in MD1. Or if I go over here, I'm in ADO. Now you probably aren't going to use this tab. But notice you got two different tabs. Why two different tabs? This one is for conversational programming. This one is for your regular GM code programming, okay? So most of your programs, Gerard sends a program out here. This is what the folder you're gonna want it in. So how do I get a program that Gerard sends out here? This is extremely easy. Go directory display to say, hey, what directory do I wanna be in? I can go TC. That's what he's got as a shared folder, right? If I enter in here, there's maybe folders in here, or programs or whatever, right? And then I can say copy, and I can put in MD1. That's one way to do it. I like to press less buttons. And always to get back, you can say directory display, MD1, that gets you back to your main directory. The less buttons. This is the way that I do things. Let's say directory display. I'm going to hit that right arrow. And see I've got this MD1 US0. This is US0. This is US1. TC is the shared folder, right? So that gives me the machine and his shared folder. So if I want to, say, put a program in here, production, I would just highlight the program, copy. This is on the right of that, so I'm going to say right. Program's there. Get back, I say directory display, MD1. That's all there is to it. It's about the easiest thing you can do for transferring programs. You guys will do that several times too. Last one here that we're going to really focus on is the tools. Tools is probably the most complicated part of this. I'm going to show you how to do it the first time, and after that I'm going to ask you guys to create and attach 10 tools. 10 is the magic number. you guys create tin tools, you're going to have really good knowledge of how to do it. Right? You'll feel real comfortable with the tooling part of this. You have 2 tabs. These are the tools that are registered to the machine. This is the tools that are in the machine. Now, what's the difference? Tools registered, tools in the machine. You can register up to 9,999 tools. So once you register a tool, you don't have to re-register that tool. You can just detach it and then attach it. Pretty cool, right? This is the tools that are in the machine. These are the turret stations. I have turret stations. This use column right here is whether that tool is being used in the program or not. So now I can glance at this and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe I don't want to detach that tool because we're using that. What other stations can I use, right? This is your first offset, second offset for each tool. What do you mean first offset, second offset? You have, say you have a groove tool, and you're wanting to control the width of that groove tool with 2 different offsets. That would be where you have their first offset for your one side of the groove, your second offset for the other side of the groove, but it's still the same tool. Or say you've got 2 different, and this is something Gerard's going to have to set up if you want that part of it, but you have 2 different diameters that are tight tolerances, right? Maybe you want 2 different offsets to control those tight tolerances, right? That's where the first offset, second offset would come in. So normally I would see in this column over here for your second offset, unless it's a groove tool or something where you're trying to control some tight tolerance, I would expect your second columns to be 0 because you're not using the second offset of the tool, right? You also have, and we're going to get into this, you have edges. So the first thing is the tools, offsets, right? The second thing is the edge. An edge is, you've got a quad holder in this thing. If I rotate this thing around, if you close the door, it'll just spin. You open the door, you can only rotate 1 notch at a time. You've got a quad holder, so you're going to have 4 tools on this turret station, right? Each tool is an edge. And each edge has the ability to put in 2 offsets. Make sense? It will once you set your tools up. So, this is, I'm going to detach, I'm going to delete everything that I did yesterday, and I'm going to create 1 tool, show you guys how to do it, and then you guys are going to create all the tools, all right? So the first thing is, we're in manual, just tool detach. That's all you have to do. If I stand up here and talk, I'll show you all kinds of cool stuff with the machine, but if you guys aren't pushing the buttons, I'll walk away and you guys will say, wow, he really understood the machine. I don't know which button to push though, right? Alright, so I detached the tools, but the tools are still registered. So I'm going to delete those. Okay. So overview. What I'm trying to do is I want you guys to feel comfortable with the tool page. After we're comfortable with the tool page, we get the tools in, we'll touch the tools off, right? You guys are comfortable with that, we're going to go into setting up your work service. And then we'll get into some of the information stuff.
That they might relate to is on the setup sheet, we have a load sheet and a description of the tools. It basically tells you what type of tools you put in the machine, which is what they could use to build that load sheet. It has the tool description and everything, and if need be, some of the information